Welcome to Voices from the Future, where we journey to the frontiers of human ambition. Today we're on Mars, a world once unreachable, now home to those who dared to dream beyond Earth. In this episode, we'll meet the pioneers who've turned a barren landscape into a thriving community. These are the voices of Mars, the trailblazers shaping humanity's future on a new world. Excuse me, how long have you been living on Mars?
I've been here for about 12 years now. I arrived with one of the earlier waves of settlers.
12 years is a long time. What made you decide to come to Mars in the first place?
It was the opportunity for a fresh start, really. Earth felt so crowded, and the idea of helping to build something new on another planet was too exciting to pass up. Plus, I wanted to be part of something bigger than myself, something historic.
What's your daily life like now? How do you spend your time here?
I spend most of my time working in the market. I've got a small shop where I sell hydroponic vegetables. It's a tough job, but it's rewarding. There's something special about knowing that what I grow helps feed the colony. The rest of the day, I usually spend in the community spaces, catching up with friends or just enjoying some quiet time.
That sounds like a fulfilling routine. What's it like running a shop on Mars? Are there any challenges that stand out?
It's definitely different from running a shop on Earth. We're still under a lot of constraints. Everything from water to energy is carefully rationed. Plus, the market here isn't just about making money. It's about sustaining the community. We barter a lot, and there's a real sense of cooperation. Everyone understands that if one of us fails, we all do.
That sense of community must be pretty strong then. How do you see it affecting daily life here?
It's everything, really. Back on Earth, you might not even know your neighbours. But here, we all rely on each other. There's no room for isolation. If someone needs help, you help. It's as simple as that. It makes life here challenging but also incredibly rewarding. You feel connected in a way that's hard to describe.
Has living on Mars changed you in any way?
Absolutely. I think I've become more resilient. Life here demands it. But I've also learned to appreciate the small things, the little joys that come from surviving and thriving in such a harsh environment.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I hope more people get to see what we're building here. It's something special.
If you're still watching or listening to this, I kindly ask you to give the video a like. One click on the like button will indirectly contribute to us creating more content like this and improve the quality. Thank you for your support, and sorry for interrupting. Hey there. What brings you to the market today?
I'm just here with my parents. They're picking up some things, and I'm tagging along. I like looking at all the different stalls.
I bet it's interesting growing up here. Have you ever been to Earth?
No, I haven't been there yet. I was born here on Mars, so this is the only home I've ever known. But I've seen lots of pictures and videos of Earth. It looks amazing, but also kind of overwhelming with all that blue and green.
What do you think about Earth? Do you want to visit someday?
Yeah, I'd like to visit someday. It looks so different from Mars, with all the oceans and forests. But at the same time, it seems kind of strange. Here, everything is designed for life inside the domes, and we don't have things like rain or weather to deal with. I'm curious, but also a bit nervous about it.
That's understandable. Do you know how many people live on Mars now?
Last I heard, we're up to about 12,000 people. It's grown a lot since I was little. More people are coming all the time, and it's exciting to see the colony expanding.
That's incredible. What's it like growing up here? Do you think it's different from what kids on Earth experience?
I think so. We don't have the same outdoor spaces, and everything we do is kind of controlled, like how we get our food, our water, even our air. But we have our own kind of fun. We explore the domes, play games, and learn about how to keep the colony running. It's different, but I think it makes us appreciate things more.
It sounds like you've got a pretty unique perspective. Do you ever think about what you want to do when you're older?
I'd like to be an engineer, maybe work on building better habitats, or even helping with new colonies. There's so much to do here, and I want to be part of making Mars an even better place to live.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts with me.
Thanks for talking to me.
Excuse me, is that a football you're holding?
Not quite. It's actually a ball for aeroball.
Aeroball?
Yes, it's a sport we invented here on Mars. It takes advantage of the lower gravity, so we can jump higher and move in ways that wouldn't be possible on Earth.
That sounds fascinating. How does the game work?
It's a fast-paced, high-energy game. We play in a three-dimensional arena with goals on all sides, not just at the ends like in soccer. The idea is to score by getting the ball through these floating goals, but you can also jump, flip, and even use the walls to rebound and move around. The lower gravity lets us do things that would be impossible back on Earth.
That sounds intense. How did this sport come about?
It started out as just kids messing around, seeing how high they could jump and what tricks they could pull off in the lower gravity. Over time, it evolved into a more structured game. People started creating rules, setting up proper arenas, and now we even have tournaments. It's become one of the most popular sports on Mars.
What do you enjoy most about playing aeroball?
I love the freedom of movement. You're not just limited to the ground like in most sports. You can fly through the air, twist, turn, and do things that feel almost like you're in zero gravity. It's exhilarating. Plus, it's a great way to stay active and connect with others in the community.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's cool to talk about something that's become such a big part of our lives here.
What brings you to the market today?
I'm here to pick up some supplies for my research. I work as a biologist here on Mars, and the market is a great place to find some of the unique materials I need.
A biologist on Mars? Now that sounds fascinating. What kind of research are you doing?
I'm primarily focused on studying the ways in which Earth-based organisms adapt to the Martian environment. We're experimenting with different plant species, seeing how they can thrive in Martian soil, and how we might even engineer new species specifically for Mars. It's all about making this planet more habitable for humans in the long term.
That's incredible. Are there any specific challenges you face when working with life forms here?
Absolutely. The biggest challenge is the harsh environment, low temperatures, high radiation levels, and of course, the thin atmosphere. Most Earth plants and microorganisms aren't equipped to handle that, so we have to be creative. We're constantly experimenting with genetic modifications and symbiotic relationships that could help these organisms survive and even flourish.
How do you go about modifying plants to survive on Mars?
We use a combination of traditional breeding techniques and advanced genetic engineering.
How do you see your work impacting the future of the colony?
In the short term, it's about improving our food security and sustainability. In the long term, though, it's about terraforming, creating environments where more complex life forms can eventually thrive. If we can cultivate ecosystems here, it could pave the way for even more advanced life support systems, making Mars more like home.
It sounds like you're on the cutting edge of making Mars truly livable. What inspired you to pursue this kind of work?
I've always been fascinated by the possibility of life beyond Earth. And when the opportunity came to join the Mars mission, I couldn't pass it up. The idea of being part of something so groundbreaking, helping to create a new world, essentially.
Do you think Mars will ever be fully terraformed?
It's a huge challenge, and it won't happen overnight. But I believe it's possible. We're laying the groundwork now, learning how to manipulate ecosystems and make them resilient in this environment. It will take generations, but I think one day Mars could support a much broader range of life.
Thank you for sharing your work with us. It's amazing to hear how science is helping to shape the future of Mars.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk about it. We're all working together to make this planet a place where life can truly thrive.
Hello there. What brings you to the market today?
I'm actually here to study.
What is your profession?
I'm a consciousness architect based on Earth, currently visiting Mars for research purposes.
That's not something you hear every day. What exactly does that involve?
It's a new field that's emerged here on Mars. Essentially, I work with creating and managing immersive virtual environments that people can enter to experience different realities. These environments are designed to help people deal with the psychological challenges of living in such an isolated and alien environment. It's about mental health, yes, but also about exploration and creativity.
That sounds incredibly fascinating. How do these environments work?
We use a combination of neural interfaces and advanced virtual reality to create fully immersive experiences. But unlike traditional VR, these environments are interactive on a subconscious level. They can adapt to your emotional state, needs, and desires. So if someone is feeling homesick for Earth, the environment might recreate their hometown with stunning accuracy, or it might offer them a completely new place that provides comfort or inspiration.
Is this something unique to Mars, or do you think it could be used elsewhere?
It's very much a product of our life here. The isolation and harsh conditions on Mars have driven the need for such technology. However, I believe it could have applications on Earth as well, particularly in therapy, education, and even entertainment. But here it's a lifeline. It helps people cope with the realities of living so far from everything they once knew.
What kinds of environments are the most popular here?
It really depends on the person. Some people want to reconnect with Earth, walk through a forest, feel the ocean breeze. Others are more interested in exploration, creating environments that allow them to experience what it might be like to walk on other planets or moons. There are also those who use it to push the boundaries of their own creativity, designing completely new worlds that defy the laws of physics.
How do you go about designing these environments?
It's a collaborative process. I work closely with the person to understand their needs and desires, and then I use that information to build a tailored environment. The rare minerals I mentioned earlier are used in the neural interfaces. They help create a more seamless connection between the brain and the virtual world. It's a bit like being a storyteller, a therapist, and a technologist all in one.
That's truly unique. What impact do you think this has on the colony?
It's had a huge impact. People here are under a lot of stress, and these environments provide them with a way to escape, to explore, and to find solace. It's helped reduce anxiety and depression, and it's also brought people closer together. Some of the environments are designed for shared experiences, where people can meet in a virtual space and connect in ways that aren't always possible in the physical world.
This technology sounds like it's really helping to shape the culture here on Mars.
It is. It's becoming an integral part of life on Mars. As we continue to expand and more people arrive, I think this kind of work will only become more important. It's about more than just survival. It's about thriving, creating, and building a future that's as mentally and emotionally sustainable as it is physically.
Thank you for sharing this with me. It's amazing to see how you're helping to create not just a colony, but a vibrant, living community.
Thank you. It's an exciting time, and I'm glad to be part of something that's making a difference.
Hi there. What brings you to the market today?
I'm here to pick up some fresh products and maybe a few other essentials for the week. I try to come by the market every few days to see what's new.
How has shopping at the market changed since you first arrived on Mars?
It's definitely improved a lot. When I first got here, the selection was pretty limited, mostly just basics like grains and a few hydroponically grown vegetables. Now, there's a much wider variety. We've got more fresh produce, even some Martian-grown herbs and spices. It's nice to have a bit more choice, especially when you're trying to cook something special.
What's it like cooking on Mars? Are there any unique challenges?
Cooking here is definitely different from Earth. For one, we have to be really careful with water, so you learn to use it sparingly. And then there's the issue of ingredients. Some things just aren't available or are really expensive. So you get creative with substitutions. Also, since the air pressure is lower, things like boiling points are different. So recipes sometimes need to be adjusted.
What kinds of meals do you typically prepare?
I try to keep it simple but tasty. Lots of stews and soups because they're easy to make with the ingredients we have, and they help keep you warm in the colder months. I also bake a lot of bread. It's a bit of a luxury here, but there's nothing like the smell of fresh bread to make a place feel like home.
That sounds comforting. How do you manage to get the ingredients you need for baking?
It's all about planning ahead. Flour and yeast are available, but they're rationed, so I stock up when I can. I've also started experimenting with Martian-grown grains, which have a slightly different flavor but work well in bread. It's all about adapting to what we have here.
Has living on Mars changed the way you think about food?
Definitely. You really learn to appreciate every meal, knowing how much effort goes into producing even the simplest ingredients. Back on Earth, it's easy to take things for granted. But here, you're much more aware of the resources involved. It makes you more mindful and creative in the kitchen.
Do you think that mindset has affected other parts of your life as well?
Absolutely. Life here forces you to be resourceful in all aspects, not just with food. Whether it's reusing materials, conserving energy, or finding new ways to entertain yourself, you learn to make the most of what you have. It's a mindset that I think a lot of us have come to appreciate, and it's something I'll carry with me even if I ever go back to Earth.
It sounds like you've really adapted to life here. What's the most rewarding part of your daily routine on Mars?
Honestly, it's the little things, like sharing a meal with friends after a long day, or finding a new way to use an ingredient you didn't think much of before. Those moments remind me that even though life here can be tough, it's also full of small, meaningful joys.
Thank you for sharing your day-to-day experience. It's refreshing to hear about the practical side of life on Mars.
Thank you. It's the everyday things that make life here feel like home.
What brings you to the market today?
I'm here to pick up a few things for a gathering we're having tonight. Some of us who were part of the first wave of settlers like to get together and reminisce about how far we've come.
That sounds like a special tradition. You were part of the first group to come to Mars?
Yes, I was. It's hard to believe it's been over 20 years now. We arrived with so much excitement and a little bit of fear, not knowing exactly what we'd find or how we'd survive. But we were driven by the dream of creating something new, something bigger than ourselves.
What was it like when you first arrived? How did you feel stepping onto Mars for the first time?
It was surreal. Stepping out onto that red soil, looking up at the sky, knowing we were the first humans to ever set foot here. It was overwhelming. We had trained for years, but nothing could really prepare us for the reality of it. There was a sense of awe, but also an immense sense of responsibility. We were pioneers in every sense of the word.
How did you manage in those early days? It must have been incredibly challenging.
It was. The early days were all about survival. Setting up the habitats, getting the life support systems running, figuring out how to grow food in Martian soil. We were constantly working, often around the clock, because there was so much to do and so much at stake. But there was also a strong sense of camaraderie. We were all in this together, and that bond helped us push through the toughest times.
Looking back now, how do you feel about what you and the others have accomplished?
I'm incredibly proud. Seeing how far we've come, from those first fragile domes to the thriving colony we have today, is beyond anything I could have imagined. We've built a community here, a real home. It's not just about survival anymore. It's about living, growing, and even thriving. We've created something that I believe will stand the test of time.
What's your vision for the future of Mars? Where do you see this colony going in the years to come?
I see Mars becoming a beacon for humanity, a place where we can experiment with new ways of living, where we push the boundaries of what's possible. I think the colony will continue to grow, not just in numbers, but in innovation and culture. We've already started to develop our own identity here, distinct from Earth, and I believe that will only deepen as more people come. My hope is that Mars will be a place where people from all walks of life can come together to build something extraordinary.
What would you say to someone considering making the journey to Mars now?
I'd say it's not an easy life, but it's a rewarding one. You have to be ready to face challenges you've never even imagined, but the rewards are worth it. There's something incredibly fulfilling about being part of this grand experiment, about helping to shape the future of humanity on another world. If you're ready for that kind of adventure, then Mars might just be the place for you.
Thank you for sharing your story. It's been inspiring to hear about the journey from those early days to now, and I'm sure it will inspire others as well.
Thank you. It's been an incredible journey, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for all of us here on Mars.
Thank you for joining us on this journey to Mars and beyond. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, don't just think about where we are now. Imagine where we'll be a year from now. We're committed to continuously improving our content to bring you the most authentic and thrilling experiences possible. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And of course, follow us on social media to stay connected and get behind-the-scenes looks at our upcoming projects.